Hello, Russell.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. Sorry for the delay.
No
We've been,
worries.
I think, 5 minutes late. It's fine.
Yeah.
So, hope everything is well. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. And I'm so glad to be here today with Russel Lehmann. I would like to introduce Russell. He's a motivational speaker and a poet who happens to have autism. He knows what it is like to be judged and discounted by society. He was told he would never live the life that he wanted, and now he is living out his wildest dreams. So let us know more about him. Russell, how are you? First, tell us where you're at, please.
I am located in Reno, Nevada, in the USA, and I'm doing well today. Thank you.
Can you tell us more about yourself?
Yeah.
I want people to know more about the great person you are, how you overcome all, I wouldn't say weaknesses, but all the difficulties that you've been through. And I would like you to talk about yourself. I want you to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
I wanted to introduce you, but I think it'd be much more impactful if you do it yourself.
All right. So my name is Russel Lehmann. I'm 29 years old right now, and I'm a motivational speaker and poet, as you said, with a platform of autism and mental health. I've come a heck of a long way in life. Diagnosed with autism when I was 12. Basically, was a societal recluse from the age of 11 to 24. So only in the past 5 years have I really been out in the world. And it's been a lot of getting used to. But when I was younger, life was very much a struggle. I used to be a prisoner basically inside my own body due to the symptoms of autism. But now I've learned to use them to my advantage. And I spread a lot of hope, insight, and awareness when I speak about autism and mental health.
That's amazing. I was impressed with your story. That's why I wanted to share it with so many people out there, because I know that many people, if they have not gone through autism, they have someone in their family, a daughter, a son, a family member, a friend who has gone through autism. And to be honest with you, it's not very common that people know how to deal with autism and the consequences and the things that they have to deal with. So it's amazing. I want to tell us about your childhood story, if you may.
Yeah, so I struggled since the day I was born. My whole life has been one big struggle. But I've embraced it now, and I pride myself on taking on those struggles on a daily basis. But when I was a child, I really started struggling with anxiety, OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder, and depression. I started dealing with those three things around the age of 6.
So
And
is OCD the part where you actually wash your hands 10 times a
yeah,
day?
yeah, so OCD is, if you see a kid touching objects multiple times or washing their hands or even pacing back and forth, those are all forms of OCD. OCD is actually a natural coping mechanism to deal with the anxiety and the depression in someone's head. So if you see like a kid acting strangely or touching things, there's a reason for that. It's not like they're just being weird. There's actually, it's called OCD. So that took over my life. And again, kind of made me a prisoner inside my own body. I wasn't really able to function because I was touching things pretty much every waking hour, washing my hands hundreds of times a day. And just on top of that, severe anxiety and depression as well. And every year just seemed to keep getting worse and worse. And then around the age of 12, I was diagnosed with autism.
At the age of 12.
Mm.
Wow. I want to share with you a little story of mine, to be honest. I'm sorry for this. I'm just trying to fix the lighting. It's terrible today.
No worries.
All right. So basically, I encountered some difficulties with my own child, and it was difficult to accept it. At the age of 2, I was called to a nursery, and my husband and we were told that our oldest son now, that he's autistic. And it didn't take long for them to notice that he's autistic, although at the end he was not diagnosed that he was autistic. However, it was so hard to deal with it in my mind, in my soul. We were racing through so many thoughts. And he ended up not being diagnosed. During that process, it was very difficult for our whole family to come to terms with the potential that he could be autistic. So, how much stigma is there? Russell, you've been through all that, and you know what your mother went through, what your family went through. Please tell us more about that. It's very important for many people because I do believe that in this that in these times, many institutions, whether it was educational, whether it was in societies, they
Mhm.
do judge the child, the
Yeah.
autistic, even if he's not or he is. So how, you know, how can we help this? How can we support? And how much stigma is there?
There's a lot of stigma. In America, it's gotten a little better. There's more awareness about autism, but
Yes.
at the same time, there's a lot of unconscious bias against it because people with autism, they stand out. They're different, and people treat them differently just because they act differently, and that shouldn't be the case. There's a lot of it's an easy solution. You know how to interact. If you have questions on, like, if you're trying to figure out how to interact with somebody on the spectrum, it really boils down to just compassion and listening. That's basically it. So it's basic human decency when it comes to interacting with individuals on the spectrum. With my mom, there's back before I got diagnosed, there was a lot of blame put on her. She took me to all these doctors and they weren't sure what was going on with me, so they were pretty ruthless to my mom. They, said she was a refrigerator mom, which is a term for the mother to her child, not giving me enough attention. When in reality, she's like the best mom I could have ever asked for. She felt guilty because she saw me struggling every single day, and she didn't know how to help me. Even though she would help me every single day, she felt like she needed to do more. So there are a lot of dynamics going on in play when there's a diagnosis of autism. There's the stigmas from society. There's the treatment from professionals. There's the non-acceptance from schools and teachers, and then a kid's peers, the kid's friends. They might bully them too, and then the family dynamic on top of that. So there's a lot of moving parts when a kid or an individual is diagnosed with autism. But we just have to remember that no two people are the same. And just because a kid with autism is a little more different than the average person doesn't mean they should be treated differently.
Of course, of course. I don't know why I always think of the mother because I know that she's the one who deals directly with fighting everyone around. So I feel with the mom the most.
Mhm.
I'm sure lots of fathers also and lots of family members get affected as well. But I know that the mom gets affected the most in any case, and she's judged the most of the times. So, Russell, what are the main challenges that you feel you have overcome?
Yeah, the I would say the two main challenges is when I was younger, even 6 years ago, my disabilities used to control my life. Again, I was basically a slave to my anxiety, my OCD, my autism, and they dictated how I would live each and every day, and they dictated what my future looked like in my head. So I overcame that challenge by not listening to my disabilities, basically taking control. I overcame that sense of control that was put on me. I in turn put control onto my disabilities. And so now I have disabilities, but they don't have me. And so to be able to be in control of my life, live the life that I want to live, is huge. And it's something that's very difficult, I think, for anybody. Just even a person who doesn't have a disability. It's very hard to take control of your life and live the life you want because there's so many outside pressures. So I would say the biggest challenge I overcame is making my disabilities work for me. I used to be ashamed of having a disability. Now I'm very proud to say, yeah, I have a lot of disabilities, but they don't get in the way of living the life I want to live. They're still very challenging, and some days, they do get in the way. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, they don't prevent me from achieving my goals. The second challenge I would say is being an adult on the spectrum, transitioning from being a child taken care of by my mother to an independent adult. That was huge. That was very difficult. That transition period, into adulthood. And that's something I'm still trying to, learn about. But for the most part, I think I've got it down. But again, I realize that as an adult now, I'm on my own. Yeah, my mom is still here, but she's not taking care of me like when I was younger. I have to be my own best friend. I have to be my safe place. There's no running away to mom's house right now. I'm in the real world. And so when I speak to youth, especially, I want to paint them a realistic picture of the future, because when I was a kid, I thought when I would turn 18, when I would become an adult, that my disabilities would disappear and life would be easy, because that's how I perceived the adult world. But life got harder when I became an adult because I have responsibilities now. So I say to the kids, life may not get easier. It may actually get harder. But if you believe in yourself and you follow your heart, life will get better. And that's very true for me. Life is much better now than it was 10 years ago. It is more challenging because I have more responsibilities. But again, if we can run towards our fears and not away from them, we realize that behind every fear is an opportunity waiting to be discovered.
That's amazing. That's why me personally, because I, as a child, my mom was told that in a young age, in year 1, year 2, year 3, that I would never learn anything, maybe. And yet, really, they told her, don't bother, she would never learn. And I was at such a young age for me to be judged. But my mom believed in me and my family. And yeah, I ended up doing my master's and working. And I do believe that I have been an active citizen in society and I've done a lot of good work. Inshallah.
I
What do you think about the judgment of society and the educational institutions on children, and on people who are actually might be different than other people? Not necessarily, I don't want to call it an abnormality. I want to call it special, because we're all special in different ways. We have differences. How would you see it? I'm sure you felt it, because you mentioned to me before, I know that you want us to be Christians live, because we're going to have more lives, inshallah. Please, I want to mention this regarding the institutions, whether it's the educational, the mental health, how they judge children and humans overall.
Yeah, and definitely we'll do another live about that, because there's so much to talk about in that world. But yeah, I've been inpatient at mental health care facilities 3 times in my life. And each time I've left, I go there for help, but each time I have left the hospital worse off than when I entered, due to the treatment of medical professionals. Whether I was 11 years old, 19 years old, or 23 years old, they treat me like I am there because I'm lazy and these problems are my own fault. And so they punish me, basically. When in reality, I try my hardest every single day. Nobody sees how hard I try to even get out of bed in the morning or to walk out the front door. My disabilities are invisible. You see me walking down the street, you'd never think, oh, that guy has disabilities, but I do. And so again, what I say and what you previewed in the IG story, I say what you do not see is much more important than what you do see, because my struggle is on the inside. And if people can have that awareness that, hey, I might look like I'm quote unquote normal, or I might look like I'm doing okay, you don't know unless you ask. So again, be compassionate, be a kind person, always check in with people, just be a decent human being, and a lot of our societal problems would vanish.
That's amazing. Before we just get to our call for action today, there is a person asking, how does culture and religion could be part of autism?
Yeah, I mean, that's a broad question, but definitely in different cultures, autism is... I'm sorry, what was that?
That's from Gita.
Okay, great. Thank you for the question. Yeah, definitely autism is looked upon differently in different cultures. I mean, in America, like I said, it's getting better, but there's still parts of Africa where, very rural Africa, where they don't know what autism is, so they will actually shackle the kids in a room, basically as a prisoner, because they're misbehaving. Again, they're not misbehaving, they have autism. Religion, I myself am not religious. I learn about a lot of religions. I love the Eastern religions. I read about Islam a little bit, but Eastern religions help me personally with autism, especially Taoism and Buddhism and Hinduism. It makes me realize that all these struggles that are part of my life, if I can take them on, if I can embrace this life of autism, then I'm going to be a better person for it. Again, I used to run away from my problems, but they would always catch up to me. If I run towards them, they actually get scared and they don't know what to do. So if I can take my demons head on, I become more confident in myself, because then I know, like, I've been through the worst of it. I know going forward that I can deal with anything life presents me.
That's great. Russell, you're amazing. Fauzia Malloy here. She's our greatest supporter. And she tells you, I admire you for being who you are today, helping others how to cope with autism.
Thank you.
She's a family member and a great lady and a great supporter. Thank you, Fauzia. We're going to have more lives. Today, we're going to wrap it up very quickly. I want to just raise awareness for a cause for autism here in Abu Dhabi. We're trying to raise awareness for an autistic society here. And children, as you know, Russell, the ones who have a bit of a severe autism, they do use lots of A4 paper, because whenever they try to write something or do something, they immediately do this to the paper and throw it. So we need A4 white papers and color papers, and if you have any used instrument, a piano or anything, because autistic children love music and they express themselves through music, please do contact us and we'll send it to them directly. So I would like to raise this cause for these autistic children. It'd be nice to support them. A4 papers, colored or white, or any kind of musical instrument. There's a lady called Carmen. Can you give us any tips on how can a teenager talk and treat another teenager with autism? Can he address the issue of autism to him? Is it appropriate?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? You were breaking up a little.
Can you give any tips on how can a teenager talk and treat another teenager? I'm going to show it here. Do you see it, Russell?
Okay. Can you address it? Yeah, I mean, I definitely address autism. I mean, don't try to not talk about it. I mean, it's very intrinsic to who I am. Autism is very important to me. I don't want people to be shy when they talk to me. I don't want them to try to avoid the topic of autism. It's something I'll be with for the rest of my life. And so, yeah, definitely address it, talk to them, and tips on how a neurotypical teenager can talk to another teenager with autism. Again, it's just, I would keep it short, like when asking questions. If the two teenagers aren't comfortable with each other, keep questions short, try to keep them to a yes or no answer, so it's easy for the teenager with autism to respond in just a yes or no fashion, and kind of take baby steps to build up the comfort level of having a conversation. Again, don't try to shy away from autism. If anything, if that teenager with autism is maybe ashamed or embarrassed they have autism, maybe the other teenager can let them know that it's nothing to be embarrassed about, because belief is contagious. If we let others know we believe in them, they too will come to believe in themselves as well. And yes, I used to be ashamed and embarrassed that I had autism, until I realized how many opportunities it gave me with the challenges. So definitely talk about autism. We need to talk about it more. That's part of the stigma. The stigma is, the reason there are stigmas is for us to stop talking about stuff. And that's how stigma grows. The less we talk about something, the more stigma grows around that topic. So every chance you get, obviously bring up autism, maybe talk about the good things, the bad things, the struggles, because then we realize what autism really is, right? If we don't talk about it, we'll never really understand what autism is. So I would definitely encourage conversations surrounding autism.
That's amazing, Russell. We have one more thing. I'm so sorry for this. Okay, so much love again. How did you teach yourself to become verbal?
Rasha, and I've sent an email with Rasha. Yeah, she's. Yes. How did I teach myself to become verbal? So I really didn't teach myself. It was all about having the right environment. Again, if it wasn't for my mom and the house I grew up in, which was my safe spot from the outside world, where I felt like I was just getting eviscerated every time I went outside the front door, I would come home and just stay with my mom, and she gave me that nurturing environment for me to feel safe. And when an individual, whether they are a kid or an adult, when anybody feels safe, they are more likely to take risks. All right. And a lot of kids who are nonverbal or speak very little, um, it's again, some kids will never talk. That's might be hard to hear, but that doesn't make them any less of a special person. Just because someone can't talk doesn't mean they're less, right? But again, if you have a safe and nurturing environment, more likely is your child with autism is going to initiate that risk taking him or herself. So just try to keep a calm household, a safe household, nurturing environment, and push them to take risks. Let them know that if they take this risk and they fail, that doesn't mean anything bad. It just means that, they can go back and try again. You have an unlimited amount of tries in life. So keep trying. You are bound to succeed.
That's amazing. Just one more last one. Just one last one. I know if we're done. But this is Fauzia. We have to give some time. So, if Russel can please write a leaflet for parents to detect the signs of autism in their children at an early age. Thank you. You can do that later, but I do believe this is something that is interesting. By the way, Fauzia, Russel gives speeches everywhere in the world, and he's given speeches in Abu Dhabi as well. He helps families, children, and everyone to understand their capabilities and what they're going through. He went through autism at an early age, and he asked his family at year 12, was it 12, to be hospitalized, right?
Yeah.
So he is very aware of his surrounding. He's a person, I don't believe just any 12-year-old would do that. He's somebody I believe that's very mature. We will talk about all this. Aline, hello everyone. I'm so glad, Carmen, everyone, all of you. I'm so glad you're all on. We're gonna have another live with Russel, maybe in 10 days time. Russel, we will.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I just want to say, yeah, you guys, again, if I can't get to your question now, you can follow me on Instagram, shoot me a message there. It might take me a while. I get a lot of messages, but I will try to, I will respond. It might take me a while though. And I just want to say, I'm very determined. I'm very tenacious. I'm very motivated to live the life I want to live, because I know what it's like Salam introduced me. I know what it's like to feel left out and discounted and told that you're not going to be anything. And so I use that as motivation. Whenever I heard that, I said, okay, I'm going to prove these people wrong. I'm not going to suffer my whole life. There has to be a reason behind this suffering. Yes. And now I realize my suffering now, I realize what it's for. It's to help others. So even today, when I have a really difficult day, I realize that I can take these lessons learned from those difficulties to help others who are struggling with similar things.
That's amazing. We'll be with you next week. Please, if you can actually donate any A4 papers, white or colored, or any musical instrument used piano or any used musical instrument, it will have lots of autistic children in Abu Dhabi. Looking forward to seeing you all in our next live. Thank you, Aline. Thank you, Fauzia. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, all of you. And thank you, Russel. You've been amazing. I'm so proud of you myself. And I've learned so many lessons from you. And I'm looking forward to meeting you soon.
Yes, likewise. And thank you all for listening, and we'll be back soon.
Thank you so much. You also. Have a lovely day.
You too.
You too.